The Jackie Jones, yeah.
Alright, the internet icon Jackie Jones here at iWatchWrestling.com for another edition of the Jackie Jones Show, live on location from underneath an apple tree in my backyard. Let's get right to the news, folks. R-Truth broke his foot. Bad news. I mean, the guy's been on TV for a long time. He's been getting pushes left and right in tag team singles. You know, bad luck for the man, but it could freshen him up, come back with a brand new push. Who knows? But speedy recovery. I know a foot is hard to recover from, especially for a high-flying guy. Reports that Vince McMahon had concussion-like symptoms after the big punch from Big Show. This was on WWE.com. All the sites reported it. To me, it just sounds like a big work. I mean, he missed him by a mile. If he got concussions, maybe when he fell and hit his back of the head on the mat. I was really happy to see Big Van Vader back on Raw this week. Vader time. Last time I saw Vader, he did not look good. This time he looked a lot better. He's got the big, massive shoulders back. Moved a little bit better. I mean, he's still getting a little hard getting up and down from the mat. Not the Vader of old, but a lot better than last time I saw him. I think actually if he lost some of the big belly, he could maybe have a little run. I really liked it. The fans loved it. Good to see him back. No Way Out pay-per-view coming up. Here is the rundown. John Cena versus Big Show in a steel cage, a real steel cage, not one of those big blue steel cages. Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis wait at ringside. If Laurinaitis loses, he is fired. Well, if Big Show loses, Laurinaitis is fired. WWE Champ CM Punk versus Kane versus Daniel Bryan. Kane's cool and all, but I don't really think they needed to add him in this match. I think maybe they lost some faith in D-Bry and CM Punk when they lost some ratings on their big long match. But I mean, let's be honest, neither guy's ever positioned on the top of the card. CM Punk's been champion for a long time, hardly ever main events. It's always John Cena. I'd actually like to see D-Bry get the title. World Champ Sheamus versus Dolph Ziggler. It's nice to see Ziggler finally getting the big push. The guy's one of the best in the ring for current WWE guys. I think the only thing he needs to work on is the voice. But in ring, he's got it all. Intercontinental Champion Christian versus Cody Rhodes. That should be a good match. I think probably Cody Rhodes is going to take it since Christian was just on TNA. I know people might not think that's a big deal, but I could see him like, you know what? TNA just made this big deal about Christian. Let's have him lose the belt. Champ Layla's defend the belt versus Beth Phoenix. Seems like I've seen this match about 50 times in a row. Who really cares? The pre-game show, David Otunga versus Brodus Clay. I wonder if it's a prideful thing to get on the pre-game show and have your match on YouTube. I guess it's better than not being on the show at all. I don't really expect much of that match besides Brodus Clay's entrance and the chicks. Yeah, speaking of that, on Raw, it was a weird thing. The Funkadactyls, which was stolen from me on a previous Jackie Jones show, they wanted Vince McMahon to lift the ban on Brodus Clay. They said lift it, but he wouldn't do it. But then they just danced with him anyway. What was the point of that? You think they'd be dancing, putting the moves on Vince, hoping to get something out of it, not just for the hell of it. But what do I know? The man who played Abyss on TNA Slammiversary this weekend was a student from Team 3D's wrestling school, Lance. Very bizarre to me. It's kind of neat that they had a guy that looks a lot like Abyss, but what is the real Abyss going to do? Is he going to wrestle Joseph Parks? I guess he did a pretty good job as wrestling as someone who wasn't good, but is that what you want out of him? Do you want him to do that for a long period of time? I don't think so. Brooke Tessmacher is going to be losing the name Brooke because of Hulk Hogan's daughter, Brooke Hogan. They don't want two Brookes in the company. I think it'll get confusing. So she's just going to be Tess. Sucks to be her, but she's getting a big push out of it, so what the hell. A new little segment here, Jack's Take, because I want to take something out of the news and give my own little take on it, and that is WWE's treatment of Jim Ross. Now, for years and years, you heard all how horrible it was, how WCW made fun of Jim Ross's Bell's palsy, which I could see. I mean, the man has an actual illness, and you're making fun of it. So, okay, the guy was upset. His children were upset who were watching it. That's fine. I understand it's wrestling. But if the guy's genuinely upset about it, okay. WCW, I mean, they're friggin' Nazis, they're horrible, they should be killed, they should be murdered, all this stuff about it. But then WWE does the exact same thing. The other week they had Hornswoggle. Now you can pretend to be Jim Ross without making fun of his facial paralysis, but no, he was doing the one jaw, the one slack jaw, and then Vince McMahon did it even more like blatantly this week on Raw. It's just a double standard. If you're gonna say how horrible WCW was doing it, you can't go and do the exact same thing. It's just terrible. I mean, come on. Another thing I wanted to bring up on here was the crowds out of the Impact Zone. For the most part, so much more heat They should, I know everyone's saying this anyway, but they should really get out of the impact zone. Different field, different atmosphere, and a really hot crowd adds a lot to the show, as we saw this week on the pay-per-view Slammiversary. For sale here, we could have a yard sale right here. Monster Brawl's out on TV. Don't know, everyone's out getting that Monsters Brawl. That's right. You got Kevin Nash, Kurgan, Jimmy Hart. It kind of looks like my kind of film. It's like 8 monsters in a big tournament just fighting it out. I think it appeals to the horror crowd, to the wrestling crowd, because you can check us out, iWhiteWrestling.com or WithoutYourHead.com. Check out Monsters Brawl. WWE, this summertime, they have freezer mugs, and they got one for Miz, Zack Ryder, Randy Orton, John Cena, and CM Punk. ECW Unreleased is coming out, Volume 2. That's pretty cool. Some old matches that they haven't released previously from ECW. These iPod skins, I got to get with the times. I don't have an iPod, but John Cena, Miz, Zack Ryder skins. So I'm sure everyone out there has a phone, get your Zack Ryder skin, whatever you want to do. I actually, on TNA side, I really like the new Crimson t-shirt. It looks like something that I would design for myself. I like that one. They have some other ones too, a Test, Dreamstorm, and Kurt Angle, all kind of a similar look to them, but I actually think they're really well designed. So big thumbs up from these new TNA designs on their t-shirts. But then they got the Bobby Roode It Factor shirt. Kind of looks like the Bring It shirt to me from The Rock. Not really a big fan of this one. Gut Check tee. It's well designed, everything, but who really wants to buy a Gut Check t-shirt? An autograph lockdown turnbuckle, $800. I mean, it's cool. It's got all the autographs, everybody that was in lockdown, but $800. I think they're kind of priced themselves out of that one. Jack's Gimmick a Week is coming back here. We're outside, we're outdoors, and there's always been hillbillies in wrestling. You've had Hillbilly Jim, you've had Uncle Elmer, Cousin Luke, Haystacks Calhoun back in the day. But back in those days, usually on TV, hillbillies were portrayed as like fun-loving folk. They would have a good time, and so that's how they used them in wrestling. Over the last 10 years, with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, the Wrong Turn movies, and there's several more out there, hillbillies are really showcased now as more like these inbred killers, cannibalistic inbred killers. So I would like to see an inbred hillbilly faction in the WWE. It's topical, and I don't think it's been done before. I know we had the Moondogs, but they weren't necessarily inbred or cannibalistic. So I would have the Necro Butcher. They just signed Brody Lee. Tag Brody Lee with Eli Cottonwood. Put him with the Necro Butcher. If you want, you could put some prosthetics, or maybe hire some. There's probably some wrestlers out there like Zach Allen's missed a leg, but there's probably some wrestlers out there with deformities. Hire some deformed guys. They're inbred. Put some chick in there as their sister mother. Good to go. Inbred hillbillies. The Twitter wars. That's right. Back in the day, wrestlers, they used to fight in the bars. They would fight over rats. They would rip Mark's eyes out, pull them right out of their eyes, throw it on the ground, freaking stomp on it. Nowadays, they fight on Twitter. That's right. Now just think about it. When you're watching shoot interviews now, they talk about like guys getting into shoots, into fights, and road stories. In 20 years from now, when they go back and they'll be talking about all the stuff they did now, it's not going to be that, because they're not on the road, they're not banging the rats, they're not getting into bar fights, they're not beating up marks. They are on the internet, and they are tweeting each other. So these shoot interviews in 20 years are going to be, man, did I send a hell of a tweet over to John Cena? Oh man, you should have saw, I was really trolling that guy's, Facebook page. It's going to be sad times. Now, I've told One Inch Biceps many times in the show, Jack has no shame. And it is coming into contest right now while I sit here in my yard, and my neighbors are walking down the street looking at me in a tie, in a vest, with a table underneath the apple tree. But what? What the hell? You gotta have some fun. All right, let's get to the mailbag here. President Clinton wants to know, what caused you to start wearing fashionable hats? You know what, President? I thought about this recently, because I believe I talked about this with Annabelle Lecter, and just recently I started wearing the fedoras and the pork pie hats, these kind of things. But really, when I look at it, I always wore hats. When I was a little kid, I had a coonskin cap that I got in Lake Winnipesaukee. You know, we live in a more PC time now, so, you know, African American skin cap, you'd call it today. But I used to wear baseball caps, often backwards. But once I saw the fedora, I was like, you know what? It's a hell of a hat. Before I was still wearing baseball caps, and you know, you get like 30 years old, you're like, I want to be a 30-year-old man wearing a freaking baseball cap. And then once I get out of the 18 to 35 demographic, now I'm 36-year-old. I mean, you can't just do it. You just can't do it. So it's fedoras all the way for me. What can I say? Yeah, let's see here. You know what? Out there, if you got a cool hat, it doesn't have to be fedora. Anything you got, anything you want, send me an email, and you can send me the hat, and I will promise to wear it on a future edition of the Jackie Jones Show. I believe they're waiting down there for the school bus. So now I feel really silly, but what the hell, let's keep going. Billy, he wants to know, will there ever be a DVD about the fall for Hollywood? The true story of Neil Jones. Wow. The rise and fall of Jackie Jones. That would be a hell of a DVD. Actually, if you go to the website, IWTrusting.com, there's these old trailers, it's just the stuff we fooled around with, and Barbie's doing like a fake one, and Incher, and I didn't have one because I didn't know how to do videos yet, and I asked them, can you guys help me out? And they said, nah, forget it. But you know what? Who is doing the videos now, punks? Hey, pal, who is monetizing their videos now? Who's laughing last there, Barbie Richards? All right. Jeff Hudson, he wants to know, what is your top 3 wrestling theme songs of all time? Wow, that covers a lot of ground. I'm just going to throw 3 out there. Demolition, Here Comes the Axe, Here Comes the Smasher. Their Demolition, they are walking disaster. Pain and Destruction is their middle name. No Place to Run, the demos will get you. Wow. Excellent song. Jive Soul Bro. I thought this time I might learn a lesson, but I didn't learn a thing at all. I was caught messing with a woman. She was 7 feet tall. That is a big woman. And of course, who can forget? Steinerized. Doesn't get much better than that one. I mean, people have talked about Sweet Home Alabama. People have mentioned Beat It. People have talked about Beatles tunes, Imagine, Stairway to Heaven. But if you really think about it, do any of those songs really match up? Steinerized? I don't think so. All right, let's see else we got. Flynn Phineas wants to know, Jackie Jones, do you think Big Johnny is still the GM of Raw and SmackDown? You know what, Phineas? I think he is. Just wait and see. I think it'll all play out, and he's still going to be the general manager. We'll find out. Troy Jones wants to know, what kind of critters does it take to make Farmer Jack's fritters? You know what? It takes all kinds of critters. I've often thought about, like, that I kind of would like to be Noah's Ark, where I would just like want to eat like 2 of every animal, then I would die a happy man. Why 2? I think, you know, you might eat like a zebra. You're like, I don't know, that one the greatest, but maybe I didn't prepare it right. Give it a second chance. So 2 of every animal. Noah's Ark. That's what I'm going for. Steven Simply Ravishing Carol wants to know, if you had to choose your last meal and your last alcoholic drink before being put to death, what would you choose? Wow. There are so many things there. You know, you can check out Grilling with Jack right here on the same channel. You can check out Drinking with Jack. Usually almost every video I do also turns into Drinking with Jack, but these are primarily about drinking, these ones. Well, let's see here. Got these couple adult beverages now. You know, I'm not really minding that there's a bunch of moms right over here waiting for the school bus. But let's see here. You know, I really like ribs. I'm gonna go with a big rack of spare ribs, pork ribs. Not really a big fan of the beef ribs. They're kind of tough unless you do them right. Maybe we'll do that on a future episode of Grilling Jack. But this will probably change daily depending on what kind of mood I'm in. But right now I'm going to say a nice big rack of ribs. And what kind of adult beverage would I choose for the final one? Maybe some type of rum drink. You know what I really like is at the Chinese restaurant, I'm a big fan of the Headhunter. So again, this will probably change. I mean, I also like bourbons and old fashions, and You're really getting me. Oh, but I'm gonna say a big rack of ribs and a headhunter. So if you're coming to kill me out there, which I totally expect to happen someday, I expect that's how I'll leave this world someday. One of the fans or listeners, whatever they are, there's some weird ones out there. I expect someday one will knock on the door, they'll say that they love me, and they'll just start stabbing me, cut my face off, wear it around town. But if you're out there and you do that, just do it quick. That's all I'm asking for. All right. Ben Hodgins wants to know, what's more faggy? Facebook people who report you to Facebook, people who don't like bacon, or to be a star nonsense? Now, I'm going to eliminate the be a star nonsense, because even though it's foolish on wrestling, and in a way it's kind of a foolish concept, kind of like if I'd come out here and, I'd be like, you know what? I'm really against people burning my house down. I mean, obviously you are. Obviously you're against bullies unless you're, nuts or something. But the concept is good because people are bullied, and I know I've joked on the show, but in all seriousness, I don't like that. I don't think people should be bullied or ridiculed, beat up for whoever they are, unless they're really annoying. But besides all that, so I'm gonna eliminate that one. But in wrestling, it's really stupid because wrestling is built all around bullying, hating women, hating foreigners, homophobia. I don't really like the term homophobia because you can hate fags but not be necessarily afraid of them. But anyway, homophobia, it's built around that. You can't take all that out and have a wrestling program. I mean, what are they gonna do? Stand around and tell jokes? So that one's out. People who don't like bacon, I think that's more they're just like insane. Like they had like a childhood trauma maybe. And so they grew up not liking bacon. I really can't understand what other reason there would be. And but definitely total fag of the week. Total fag of the week here. People on Facebook who report me to Facebook. This has happened many times throughout my stay on Facebook. Seems like the more people listen to the show, the more likely it is to happen. But recently someone reported me as fake. And so I had to prove, now take into account, let's go, you can look on Facebook, I'm not going to name any names, but there's obviously people there that aren't necessarily who they're claiming to be. I have about 600 pictures of myself because I'm an egomaniac. I have countless videos. It'd be really hard to fake. But maybe they thought, Jackie Jones, internet icon, this guy's so big, is he really here? Because same thing recently has happened to Roger Ebert, who, I mean, let's face it, he might throw out some of the worst reviews you've ever seen now, but the man is a friggin' icon. I mean, if you think of movie critics, you think of Roger Ebert. Same thing happened to William Shatner. Now, if you just think of culture, if you think of movies, you think of a singer, you're going to think of William Shatner, probably the greatest entertainer that's ever lived. And then if you just think of the internet, if you think of orgasms, if you just think of, my God, who's probably like the coolest guy I know, you're going to think Jackie Jones. So it's like 3 cultural icons that Facebook has done this to. But so for all you fags out there, and I don't mean guys that are blowing guys or girls that are kissing other girls. I mean if you're just like this fag who's like a pussy or like, sissy, a guy wants a wine, and when am I going to turn this guy in? I don't like his pictures. There's a nipple. Oh man, he's posting videos of himself on his own page. That's spam. If you're a fag out there, just get the hell off my page. Unfriend me. Hit the bricks, fag. Alright. So definitely that. I don't know what these people are thinking of me. Alright, let's get to the video questions here. We had to break out the Jackatron 3000 for this one. Unless I couldn't get the video to work here, the effects, and I'm just sitting here looking at this tree. But nonetheless, let's bring it out here. We got, first up, we have the Honored Village. Play it out, my friend.
Do you have any memories you'd like to share about going to a live event?
That video really made me proud. Honored Village. That guy's the man. The one that really sticks out at a live event was one of the WrestleMania 11, and sitting behind me was this little girl. I don't know, probably 8 or something, and the whole time she was screaming "Big Daddy Cool" at the top of her lungs, and oh my God, and she was a big Nash fan, but my God, was that annoying. WrestleMania 14, that was huge when Austin won the title. That was really the time everyone was wearing Austin 316 shirts, NWO shirts. Just huge time. So those two, I think. And the Royal Rumble, the year escapes me, but it's the one that that Bret Hart and Lex Luger won, and that was an awesome pay-per-view to be at live. And you know, that Undertaker match, like if you watch a video, it might come out kind of hokey, but when you were there live and the lightning was shooting down and all the effects and all the stuff, it was pretty awesome. And you know, he appeared up on top of the Titantron and stuff. It was really awesome to be there. All right, next up we got Joey Crocker.
Hi, Jackie Jones. My question for you is, do you ever think we will see Randy Savage in the WWE Hall of Fame?
All right, Joey, it's a good question. Macho Man Randy Savage. I was actually going to wear the hat. I promised Annabelle that I'd wear that on the next show, but I'll wear it on the next one that I'm indoors. I should have an actual Macho Man hat, signed and worn by the Macho Man. It's probably one of the greatest things I own. But anyway, Macho Man, one of my all-time favorites. He's just great all around. He was the guy that had the charisma, the promos, the wrestling ability. He was a total package, which a lot of times guys will have the charisma, maybe not the in-ring ability. Maybe some guys will have the in-ring ability, but not the charisma. And then you put it together with some of the best promos of all time, just the greatest all-around character. Perfect package. There's no doubt he deserves in the Hall of Fame. He'll be in the Hall of Fame, I'm sure. I think part of the reason we haven't seen him in there yet is because they for so many years they didn't want to work with him. And then maybe WWE kind of sees it as like, well, now he died, we put him in the Hall of Fame. It kind of looks bad on us, like we don't want to work with him before, but now, you know, as soon as he dies, we're going to catch on to this and put him in the Hall of Fame. And so it's kind of a no-win situation for them. I think it's like, well, we put him in right after he died, then there's a little bit of backlash, or do we wait? So I think they actually did the right thing, but we'll definitely see him in the Hall of Fame. Next up, we have my man, William Morey. My baby boy, play it up.
In your head, Jackie Jones Show question. Top 5 favorite factions of all time. What are some of the matches you could see at next year's WrestleMania? And who do you think might beat CM Punk eventually for the WWE title? Love the show. You're online, internet, YouTube gold. Can't wait to see the new show. Thanks.
All right, William. My favorite factions. That's a hell of a question. Let's see. It's almost like I had watched this before and I thought about it, but I'm going to put number 5, the BWO, the Blue World Order. I just really like them. I know it's a comedy thing. Sometimes I'm down on comedy, but if comedy is done well, I'm a big fan of comedy. So I'm putting the BWO there. I think it's the best comedy faction of all time. I'm actually throwing out an honorable mention to the Dungeon of Doom, because everyone hates the Dungeon of Doom. I like the campiness of the Dungeon of Doom, so I'm not going to put it in my top 5, but I'm just giving it a shout out because I enjoyed it. 4, I think, is probably the most underrated faction of all time, is a Dangerous Alliance with Paulie Dangerous. Just an awesome faction. I wish it had gone on longer, but when it was happening, like, it was real big stuff for me. So I love that. Plus, I love Paul Heyman, one of my favorite managers, right under Bobby Heenan, and him and Jim Cornette's kind of a toss-up. Probably Jim Cornette's a little better, but still, either guy's great. No one's better than Heenan, but Dangerous Alliance is awesome. You know, I didn't think of the Heenan family, but I never really thought of them as a faction. It's just kind of like Bobby Heenan and whoever he happens to manage. So they're not on here, but Bobby Heenan, best manager of all time. 3, I'm putting the Hart Foundation. I think sometimes they get overlooked as being such a big part of the start of the Attitude Era. People say Bret Hart's like not a good promo guy, but the stuff he was doing in the Hart Foundation as a heel was just the epic stuff. He was the heel, but he really believed what he's saying, and I think that's always like a true mark of a great bad guy, not just in wrestling, but in any type of storytelling, is they have to believe in what they're doing. They're not just innately evil just to be evil. that's like a cartoon character. But if they're doing what they do because they genuinely believe in their mind, for whatever reason, that it's the right thing to do, it is perfect. Plus, a lot of things he said made sense, which added so much to the Hart Foundation. And really, a lot of stuff that DX was doing, which were the good guys, I didn't like. So it was really like a great dynamic there. Hart Foundation, number 3. 2, the NWO. It was hard for me not to put the NWO number 1. But I mean, NWO. Honestly, that was probably my favorite time ever in wrestling. Was the Monday Night Wars, and the NWO, probably the greatest angle I've ever seen. Like I said, the only reason I'm not putting them number 1 is it obviously went on too long, but I got to put number 1 as the original faction. I'm sure there was factions before this, but to me it was the original faction, and all other factions kind of copied this mold, and that's the Horsemen. You just can't beat the Horsemen. You had Ric Flair as the world champion. You had Tully and Arn, the tag champs, and originally had Ole Anderson, who I think it's terrible that they overlook in the WWE. You can say Barry Windham's a better Horseman. I'll agree with that. That's fine, but he's not the original one. Ole Anderson is. But anyway, so you had all these guys around. All of them were great. All of them were great workers. All of them were perennial champions. The Andersons were tag champs, and you had Tully as the TV champ when the TV champ actually meant a lot, and you had the world champion. And so not only were the other guys, they weren't just fodder for the main guy, which was part of it. I mean, they all worked together to keep the world title on the main guy, Ric Flair, but they weren't just like these soldiers that came out and got destroyed. They were also top guys who all had titles on their own. The NWO originally was like that when you had, they all were protecting Hulk Hogan, the Hollywood Hogan, and then you had, Hall and Nash, who were also, top guys. But then later on, they had so many guys that they were really just like fodder, just guys that, almost like stormtroopers who would get knocked down just to be there. But anyway, Horsemen, number 1 faction, Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, 2 of the greatest heels of all time. Ric Flair, to me, the greatest wrestler of all time. Horseman, number 1. It's a good question, though. Who do I see next year at WrestleMania? That's a good question. I see, I'm going to say Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. They really got to stop jobbing out Brock Lesnar. I have to give him some big wins. I know he's only lost 1 match, but it was really stupid. But you can't do Cena Brock now because Cena beat him right away. So I'd like to see Brock go on this big winning streak until WrestleMania, and then he gets beat by Undertaker. I think that'd be pretty awesome. I think you got to do Rock Cena rematch because Rock said he'd be back for the title. Have Cena the champ by then, and just Rock Cena for the title. I think Austin CM Punk would be pretty huge. Natural feud. You got the beer drinking guy, beer drinking redneck versus the vegan straight edge guy. 2 great promo guys. It could be a hell of a feud. And I actually like to see Punk turn heel again. I think he's really gone downhill. For a point, he was like the hottest thing in wrestling, but not anymore. But anyway, Daniel Bryan, I would like to see him have a real big match. I think that guy's come a long way. I never really expected him to take off in WWE, and he deserves a lot of credit. And this last year, the 18-second match, so I'd like to see him showcased in a big-time match where he could really showcase his goods. That would be pretty awesome. And who do I see CM Punk losing the title to? I'd like to see him lose the title to Daniel Bryan. I think Daniel Bryan is really coming to his own. He's all around, always been a good wrestler. He's never really my favorite guy until WWE. I always thought he was kind of dull, but now in WWE he's really got the character. Great, really funny promos actually this week, and I kind of wish they wouldn't have turned AJ into the crazy chick. While I think some of that's been good TV, I kind of think it takes away like the whole point of it was the heat in that angle to me was AJ was like the nice young girl, and Daniel Bryan was taking advantage of her. We've all seen this. And then the heat was there. You'd be mad at Daniel Bryan for mistreating this girl who actually loves Daniel Bryan and would do stuff for him. Now as the crazy chick, maybe it's funny some things, but who are you really rooting for? Where's it going to lead? Is she going to have a match with Daniel Bryan, with CM Punk, with Kane? I don't know. And are you supposed to cheer CM Punk because he's saying basically he's banging her because she's crazy? is that a heroic thing? And you can't cheer for her now. You can't really feel bad for her because she's like this mental person. Well, some of the stuff's been funny or whatnot. I think it's really lost all the heat. Not all the heat, but it's lost like what it was all about originally. But I know a lot of people dig it. But that's just my own take. But anyway, Daniel Bryan, I'd like to see him get the belt from CM Punk. They have awesome matches together, and right now, currently, I would say Daniel Bryan's a better all-around character. So anyway, thanks guys for listening to Jackie Jones here live on location from my backyard. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Rate, comment, subscribe. If you got future questions, send them in video format like Joe Crocker here and William Morey in the Honored Village. If you do that, you'll be entered in the prize wheel for a whole month, so you're gonna have a good chance of winning a prize. Plus it's fun, you get to see your face on here and I'll answer your question. Try to keep them fairly short, like 30 seconds to a minute, or even 10 seconds, whatever, but under a minute's probably the best way. You can send a question over on the Facebook at the internet icon Jackie Jones fan page or the In Your Head fan page, or you can go to iwhitewrestling.com, join the message board, and you can post questions right on there for me, or you can leave a comment here and I'll answer it, or you can send me a voicemail 508-644-8503, or an email at jackisbackbrother@hotmail.com. So anyway, until next time, check us out this Wednesday, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have George South on the show. Got a lot of people coming up on the show, and a lot of times it'll just be me and 1-inch biceps. So until next time, it's been a lot of fun. Oh man!
Jackie Jones, Jackie Jones, yeah. Jackie Jones.